Good morning. Today I'm going to talk about the classical critics of Greco-Roman period. Actually, this is the second video in this Greco-Roman period, and in that period there were two most important writers. They were Plato and Aristotle. Now we can look into the life of Plato. This Plato was born into an aristocratic family in the island of Aegina near Athens in 428 BC, and his real name was Aristocles, which means broad shouldered. And he received excellent education in his childhood, and by the age of 20, like all young men of Athens, Plato came under the influence of Socrates. And at this time, after the Peloponnesian War ended and the oligarchic rule of the 30 tyrants began in Athens, the Socrates was critical of the corrupt Athenian politics, and he refused to involve in it. Okay, and this young Plato had a keen political sensibility, but by the influence of Socrates, he now turned completely to philosophy. And when we look into the characteristics of that age, it was the time of moral and political degeneracy, and the poetry was misused by the lesser poets and painters. And there was a decline in national character and standards of public life, and this Plato spoke in a highly rational tone like a social reformer. And after the death of Socrates in 399 BC, he traveled through Italy and Egypt, and later he returned to Athens. And in 387 BC, Plato founded a philosophical school, that is academy, and this academy became very famous due to the Neoplatonist, and this academy functioned till AD 526. And at this Plato's academy, there were subjects like mathematics, philosophy, astronomy, biology, political theory, etc. And at the gate of the academy, there was written like, "Let no one without mathematics enter." That is that much importance they were given to the subject mathematics. And this Aristotle was a student at the academy, and later he was a teacher there. And when we look into the works of Plato, we know that his works are known as dialogues, and these dialogues are in the form of a communication between Socrates and someone else. Okay, and these dialogues are called Socratic dialogues, and it deals with some moral and philosophical problems. And there are about 36 dialogues of Plato, and the most important works among them are this Republic, Protagoras, then Apology, Georgia, etc. And the next writer or the next critic is Aristotle, and he was born in 384 BC and died in 322 BC. And Aristotle was born into a well-to-do family in the Macedonian town, and his father was a physician whose name was Nicomachus. And in 367 BC, when Aristotle was 17, his uncle sent him to Athens to study in Plato's academy, and he spent about 20 years there as a pupil and as a teacher. And after the death of Plato in 348 BC, This academy was headed by his nephew, and he was often diverged from Plato's teachings. And also, at this time, these Athenians looked upon the Macedonians with resentment as foreign invaders. And due to all these reasons, Aristotle left the academy. And after that, he joined in a philosophical circle named Hermias in Assos. And where this Hermias was a tyrant. And Aristotle married Hermias' niece. Her name is Pythias, and with whom he had a daughter, and this daughter's name is also Pythias. And when Hermias was killed by the Persians, Aristotle moved to the island of Lesbos in the eastern Aegean, and he joined another former academic, Theophrastus, in biological studies. And this relationship with Theophrastus he maintained till his death. And after all this, he returned to Athens and founded his own school, Lyceum. And he spent about 12 to 13 years there, and his most important works were written during this period. And under his direction, his students and associates carried out a research on philosophical and scientific topics. And after the death of Pythias, this Aristotle developed an attachment to Hercules, and with whom he had a son, and the son's name is Nicomachus. I already told you his father's name is Nicomachus, and now his son's name is also Nicomachus. And in 323 BC, Alexander died, and Aristotle once again left Athens and took refuge in his mother's place. And he died in 322 BC at the age of 62. Okay, now we can look into the works of Aristotle. Actually, almost all the works of Aristotle were lost to the West after the fall of Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. And what the Westerners know of Aristotle today was left to them by the Arab philosophers. And the works known in Aristotle's own lifetime were about 27 dialogues, which was modeled on Plato, and but these are now lost. Okay, the surviving works of Aristotle include Poetics, Rhetoric, and Nicomachean Ethics. And this Poetics is written for serious students in the manner of lecture notes, and it was first edited by Andronicus in the 1st century BC.